Verelian Academy's halls pulsed with violet-tinted light, each step humming beneath Zalera's boots as if the structure recognized her importance. She walked with the unshaken confidence of someone raised to believe in her species' supremacy. Verelians were taller, stronger, older than most of the civilizations scattered through the galactic core. Her lineage held 32 decorated warlords. Her own tactical scores placed her in the top percentile. She didn't notice the human boy at first. No one did. The administrative processor droned his name in a monotone chime. Caden. Designation, human. Transfer initiated from Tier 9 outlier system, Earth. A few snickers followed. Zalera didn't look up until someone muttered, "Why would they even bring one here?" Caden stood awkwardly at the terminal, hands at his sides. No scars. No weapons. His eyes tracked the room calmly, almost blankly. No posture of defense, no alien pride. Just a quiet awareness. Zalera narrowed her eyes. "You must have gotten lost on your way to the trade school." He didn't respond. Just met her gaze for a second and then looked away. As if her words held no weight. In most cases, a retort or challenge would follow. Not indifference. She scoffed and turned away, but her curiosity lingered like a slow burn. They shared 3 classes that first rotation. He said little, rarely asked questions, and scored mid-range in early diagnostic. But something felt off. Not wrong. Just unreadable. Even the bioscanners struggled to profile him. Neural frequency data returned nulls. Instructors dismissed it as incompatible tech, but Zalera wasn't so sure. She watched him during the simulator drills. In planetary siege exercises, the top students always chose overwhelming force, orbital cannons, nanite bombardments, infiltration viruses. Caden launched no weapons. Instead, he rerouted all resources into atmospheric destabilization, collapsed weather patterns, and forced evacuations without a shot fired. The instructor seemed stunned. Zalera chalked it up to luck. Until the next one. When tasked to escape a lockout maze designed to take 20 minutes, Caden walked out in under 5. Not with power or force, just movement. Precision. He never turned back. Never second-guessed. Zalera smirked as she waited behind him in line after class. "You memorize blueprints or just guess well?" He shrugged. "Neither." She leaned in. "Is this your way of impressing someone? Maybe you're just better at running than fighting." He looked at her again with that frustrating stillness. "I don't run." She snapped back. "Then how do you explain that move in the training sim? No one bypasses that pressure lock without insider code." "I didn't need to." His tone was flat. By the 4th cycle, murmurs had spread. A few began comparing his reaction times. How he didn't blink when near-fatal shots grazed past him. How he never ate with others, never connected to the shared neural net. One instructor joked that maybe humans had nothing to upload. That day, in the gravity well field, she challenged him. "You," she said, voice projected across the dome. "Combat exercise. You and me. No kinetics. No safeties." Other students turned eagerly. In her mind, this was justice, for the questions she couldn't answer, for the discomfort she didn't want to admit. Caden nodded once. The field locked in. Artificial gravity doubled. Zalera activated her modulated suit, enhancing muscle throughput. He didn't even adjust his posture. He wore no armor. She charged, rotating into a snap kick using the curvature of the simulated gravity. He dodged without a counter. Slipped left, minimal movement. She followed with a strike to the temple. He didn't flinch. Shifted just enough. Her fist sliced empty air. He hadn't hit her back. Not once. But he wasn't retreating either. Just moving like he saw everything before it happened. It made her furious. She activated a directional burst, bending the pressure arcs to slam him into the barrier. He pivoted, hand catching her wrist mid-spin, redirected the momentum, and placed her, gently, on the floor. In front of everyone. There was no triumphant yell. No smug grin. Just those flat eyes. She lay there, stunned, pulse racing not from impact but from the sudden fear she couldn't explain. The instructor ended the session early. She found herself poring over archived footage that night. She traced his academic transfers. None. Medical logs, blank. Earth files were sparse and inconsistent. War histories redacted. Population data 10,000 years out of date. The most current entry for Earth was labeled terrestrial designation, dormant. Observe, do not engage. That wasn't standard language. By the next cycle, rumors had gone viral in hushed channels. One Varelian claimed Caden had disarmed a Gallic brute 3 times his size using 2 fingers. Another said he could read encrypted symbols by touch. She dismissed most of it. But then he solved the Ashtari entanglement in advanced spacetime theory, something no one had done in 4 decades. The AI tutor flagged it as impossible. Caden simply said, "I thought the point was to see beyond the framework." Zalera asked, "Where did you learn that formulation?" "I didn't," he answered. "It just felt right. That wasn't how advanced mathematics worked." She grew quiet, then sharp. "You act like this is all easy. Maybe it is, for someone hiding tech under their skin. Maybe that's it. You're cheating." "If I was cheating, I'd win everything," he said calmly. "I don't need to." "Then what's your deal?" He stared at her longer this time. "You think I'm here for the same reason you are. I'm not." "And what reason is that?" He turned away. "You'll figure it out." Later that week, in a class on biostructural resilience, they were paired for scanner diagnostic. When Caden stepped onto the platform, the scanner froze. Red lights flared. Code scrambled across the instructor's interface. The AI shut down the scan mid-process. "Equipment malfunction," the instructor said, too quickly. Zalera checked the readings anyway. What little she saw showed multi-layered genetic encoding, some of it not entirely biological. Lines that resembled command prompts were embedded between protein markers. "You're not just human," she whispered to him after class. "You're something else." He didn't deny it. "You've seen the old war footage. The files they don't want you to read. No one survived the Soul incursions," she said. "They weren't incursions. They were cleansings." "They were cautions," he corrected. "Not ours. Theirs. Why are you here?" He hesitated for the first time. "To remember." That night, she activated black market protocols and connected to Fringe Galactic Archive. The footage that returned was degraded, unverified, and terrifying. Humanoid shapes moving faster than light beams. Tactical engagements where enemy fleets simply vanished. One feed showed a single man dropping from orbit without a suit, landing on a fortified outpost, and disabling the planetary defense grid in 7 minutes. The last message in that clip read, "Engagement with human anomalies is not advised. Containment impossible." She stared at her own reflection. For the first time, she understood her arrogance had been built on ignorance. In the following cycle, a subcommander from Galactic Security visited the Academy. There was no announcement. Caden was summoned during rest hours. He left without resistance. When she tried to follow, she was stopped. "You're making a mistake," she told the guard. The day after Caden's return from the classified summons, the Academy shifted. Not by policy or directive, by atmosphere. Students gave him space without realizing it. Instructors addressed him less, never called him to demonstrate. Even the drones stopped hovering near his seat. Zalera noticed every detail. She no longer spoke to him with arrogance, but something sharper, urgency. "They tagged you," she said under her breath during a planetary physics module. "Marked you with something we can't see." "I let them," he said without turning. "That way, they think they still have a handle on me. They don't. No one ever has." That wasn't pride. It was fact, cold and resolved. He had stopped participating in drills. Not out of rebellion, but restraint. When others pressed him, mocked him, tried to bait a reaction, he didn't engage. He simply left. Every time, whispers mutated into conspiracy. Some said he was a weapon awakened too early. Others claimed Earth had sent him as a final test. If the Academy failed to recognize what he was, it would be deemed unfit for inclusion in the Sovereign Nexus. On the third cycle of silence, a new arrival stirred the tension. Her name was Calyx, an analyst from the Zindari Dominion. Tall, laced with bioluminescent tech, and wrapped in cold efficiency. She was older than the rest, assigned to audit Academy protocols. That was the official story. Zalera met her once, briefly. Calyx's eyes never blinked. "You're the one who spends time near the anomaly," she said without expression. "He's not an anomaly," Zalera replied. "He's a warning." Calyx responded with a small, practiced smile. "Warnings are for those who believe in limits." That week, Caden was reintroduced into simulations, but not under standard protocol. They fed him scenarios that shifted under his feet. Environments adapted mid-run. Rules changed without notice. The other students watched from sealed chambers as the test rooms became gauntlets, labyrinths, live combat fields. He never lost. But he never celebrated either. Zalera saw him sitting alone afterward, unshaken but not indifferent. "They're trying to measure you like a beast," she said. "They're trying to trigger something," he replied. "They want proof." "Of what?" "That the old stories were true." She hesitated. "Are they?" He didn't answer. During a planetary siege sim, Calyx joined as commander of the opposing force. Every strategy was designed to trap, delay, and exhaust. Caden didn't play to win. He played to learn. Let her take territory, let her think she was dictating tempo. Then, with 3 moves, he collapsed the entire front. Not with fire. With information. He used her own troop movements against her, rerouted her comms, and fed her false intel that led her army into its own mines. Not a single simulated casualty on his side. After the scenario ended, Calyx approached him publicly. "You've hidden well," she said. "But concealment is a choice. So is escalation." "I don't escalate," Caden said. "Then why are we afraid of you?" He turned his eyes on her. For the first time, Calyx flinched. Zalera intercepted him as he walked away. "You're pushing them closer to panic." "I'm not pushing anything. You've become the center of everything. That's not my fault. But it's going to be your war." He paused. "Not if they back off." They didn't. That evening, as the dormitory lights dimmed, an unauthorized extraction squad breached the sector. Silent weapons, neural disruptors, zero lethal intent. They came for him without ceremony. Caden was already standing when they entered. The first attacker didn't even make contact. He fell, unconscious, with a bone-deep vibration that triggered every pain receptor in his body simultaneously. The others didn't fare better. He didn't kill them. He disabled them. Zalera woke to red alerts and evacuation protocols. By the time she reached the corridor, Caden was already gone, taken by the command delegation after the failed abduction. But something was different now. He'd allowed himself to be seen. Security teams couldn't explain how the squad was neutralized. No weapon traces, no trauma signatures. Just complete nervous system shutdowns. The students weren't told anything. But they didn't need to be. The next day, no one sat within 2 seats of him. No one spoke unless spoken to. When Calyx entered the lecture hall, she didn't look at him. In private, Zalera confronted her. "You sent them." Calyx didn't deny it. "We had to know." "You already knew." "Confirmation breeds action." "You're not going to stop, are you?" "Would you?" That question lingered. Zalera began researching not just Earth, but pre-Unity civilizations. Factions destroyed, records scrubbed. Words like Terran paradox and gene fraction protocols emerged in ancient files. One classified record referenced a post-civilization species, capable of surviving technological extinction and re-emerging stronger. Another stated, "Humans don't evolve linearly. They collapse, then explode. By the end of the cycle, Caden had vanished again. No announcement. No logs. Not even his bed registered occupancy. Most assumed he'd been detained. Zalera didn't believe that. She tracked restricted maintenance logs and found an anomaly in Sublevel 7, an abandoned AI testing lab buried beneath the academy, shut down after a quantum breach incident. She descended during curfew, breaking 3 security layers. She found him sitting alone in the center of the lab. "You're not supposed to be here," he said without turning. "Neither are you." He looked at her and she saw it. He wasn't hiding from them. He was restraining something. "They tried to tear it out of me," he said. "Information. Ability. The source. Did they succeed? I let them see what they wanted. Not what's there. What is there?" He didn't answer. Instead, he held out a small fragment, an artifact that pulsed with deep blue light. Not tech. Not material. It was awareness. "I found this after my last activation," he said. "It's not human. But it responds to me." "What does it do?" "It remembers." She hesitated. "So do I." He finally smiled. It wasn't warm. It was tired. "They'll keep coming," she said. "I know. They'll try to prove you're a threat." "I'm not the threat. I'm the scale. I don't understand. I'm what they measure against when they forget what's possible." That night, the sky over the academy shifted. A long-range fleet entered the sector without clearance, ships bearing no alliance symbols. Silent. Heavy. The Sovereign Council denied knowledge. Some whispered rogue element. Others whispered something worse. A message was broadcast on a hidden channel. No demand. No introduction. Just coordinate. Earth. Zalera stared at it in her quarters. "They're going to force you to act." Caden responded through her private channel. "Not if I act first." She found him again in the lower lab. "What happens if they try to destroy Earth?" she asked. "They won't reach it." "What if they do?" He paused. "Then I'll show them what we forgot." "Do you mean what humans forgot?" "I mean what the galaxy forgot we were." "Then remind me." He stepped forward, touched her wrist, and shared something without words, a flash of memory not hers. A barren battlefield. Smoke. Glassed craters. But standing in the center, one human, bleeding, breathing, holding an alien general to the dirt, not with power, but with the sheer gravity of refusal. It wasn't war. It was defiance. Purity of will. Zalera wasn't called in for questioning after the fleet vanished. No one was. The administration locked their reports behind encryption, buried communication logs, and erased surveillance for a window of 10 hours. Everyone pretended nothing had happened. But everything had changed. Caden walked as if nothing weighed on him, but it was in his posture, measured, heavy, intentional. The instructors no longer addressed him. The students spoke of him like a myth while sitting across from him. His presence had crossed a threshold, not feared, not hated, unclassified. One morning, she noticed it, an emblem on his collar. Not standard issue. Subtle. Interlocking triangles forming an impossible shape, like a paradox frozen into metal. It hadn't been there before. "What is it?" she asked. "A recall token," he said. "To where?" He didn't answer. They stopped pairing him in group assignments. His performance was irrelevant. His existence redefined the baseline. Council observers were no longer subtle. Zalera counted at least 4 unfamiliar species watching from the upper decks daily. None identified themselves. All wore diplomatic insignia. Some from factions long believed extinct. Rumors spread that Earth had begun a silent withdrawal from interstellar cooperation. Trade routes froze. Probes vanished. Embassies shut down. No war declarations, just voids. Then silence. "You're not preparing for conflict," Zalera whispered during shared lab calibration. "No," Caden said. "I'm warning them in the only way they'll understand." "You disappeared them," she said. "That entire fleet. Gone. I gave them a chance to retreat. They chose silence. So I showed them what that looks like. Calyx's data spike resurfaced 2 cycles later, rebroadcast from an untraceable source. It included a schematic, not of a ship or a weapon, of a boundary, a perimeter drawn in deep space, measured not in distance but in time. And at the center, Earth. No known technology could explain it. It shifted whenever someone tried to observe it. The spike included a directive. Observe only. Do not touch. The Sovereign Nexus issued an emergency assembly. 77 representatives. The agenda, Earth's immediate classification. But they couldn't agree on the terms. One faction proposed, dormant apex species. Another countered, post-civilizational singularity entity. A third refused to acknowledge Earth as sovereign at all. That faction vanished within 48 hours of making their proposal. Back at the academy, students began to withdraw voluntarily. Not from fear. From inadequacy. Their parents recalled them. Elite houses refused to risk proximity. They left quietly, respectfully. As if proximity to Caden required reverence. In private, Zalera confronted him. You're dismantling the galaxy just by existing. I'm not doing anything, he said. They're adjusting to reality. Is this what you wanted? No. But it's what's required. What are you, really? I'm the result of what happens when you push Earth too many times. No one knew Earth had anything left. That was the mistake. She walked with him to the outer field perimeter. The horizon shimmered where the training grounds met the reality grid. He pointed at it. They call that the edge of controlled space, he said. It isn't. No. It's the start of your illusion. Zalera studied him. And you. I'm what breaks it. One of the instructors tried to reassert control, Commander Voran, a decorated military veteran from the Glavin front. He challenged Caden publicly. Requested a full-force duel. Claimed it was for morale. Caden accepted. No one tried to stop it. The arena was filled, silence absolute. Voran unleashed war-tier plasma cannons, gravitational shear blades, kinetic disruptors. Caden didn't evade. He let every weapon fire. None connected. Time bent subtly. The shots slowed without slowing. The impacts missed without missing. Nothing touched him. Then, with one breath, Caden walked forward. Voran collapsed, not wounded, not hurt. He dropped to one knee, then both, then lay down, completely still. Later scans would show all neural activity paused simultaneously. No injury. Just shutdown. The Council revoked the Academy's authority to test Caden further. A week later, Earth issued its first message in decade. It wasn't public. It was sent directly to the oldest relay station still active. It said only this: we will not send another. The message had no metadata, no origin, no confirmation. Still, across the known territories, militaries began to withdraw from border systems near Sol. Civilian colonies rerouted away from Terran space. Treaties were re-signed, reworded, or cancelled entirely. One faction proposed direct communication. Their ambassador was vaporized by a temporal distortion before the transmission began. After that, no one proposed anything. Zalera began receiving private messages from unknown senders. All asked the same thing in different ways. What does he want? She didn't answer. Because she didn't know. She met with Caden again near the memory vaults, where old academy lessons were stored for archival purposes. They walked among the holograms of history. This place used to matter, she said. It still does. It's just no longer trusted. What will you do now? Leave. Why? Because staying proves a point. And leaving proves another. Where will you go? Home. You've done what you came here for? I didn't come here for anything. You brought me. She hesitated. We didn't know. You didn't want to know. She touched his arm. Are we still your allies? You were never enemies. That's the difference. But we caged you. laughed at you. Does a sun resent those who stare into it and go blind? She swallowed. What is Earth really, Caden? He paused, then replied softly. Earth is the question the galaxy keeps refusing to answer. So now, Earth has become the answer. The day he left, there was no ceremony. No announcement. Just empty space where his quarters had been. His name deleted from the registry. The Academy logs marked it as a routine withdrawal due to sector reassignment. Zalera stood in the courtyard, watching the sky. A ripple passed through the clouds, barely perceptible, like a breath held too long, then released. She turned and walked to her quarters. On her table, a small cube waited. She activated it. A voice, his, played only once. Remember me not as threat. Remember me as the cost of forgetting. Years passed. The Academy still stood, but it was quieter, smaller. Protocols forbade the mocking of any species. Earth was no longer discussed in simulations. Instead, it was classified as a historical caution. No fleets entered Terran proximity again. But probes sent far beyond Earth's influence sometimes caught something strange. Ghost signatures. Non-Newtonian trajectories. Entire systems quieted, not dead, just waiting. No one knew how to interpret it. Only Zalera kept the last piece of the truth. Sometimes, she walked alone to the farthest edge of the Academy, where the stars met the dark, and she whispered into the void. Not to ask for forgiveness. Not to ask for understanding. But to remember. And sometimes the void whispered back.